Hi, Neil Sean here. Now, it's been an incredibly busy royal year, or what year isn't, but this year particularly, we've enjoyed a lot of exclusives. So join me on this very short film as we take a look back at what we've done in 2019 and what we can look forward to with, of course, our much beloved British royal family in the year to come. So 2019 was the year that we saw two royal families split. Not in the traditional sense, but of course, if you recall, way back in the early part of the year, William and Catherine decided to split their charity work. That caused quite a bit of friction, and lots of people speculated, were Harry and William now at odds? Did the two wives not get on? This went on for months. More importantly, of course, we then saw an Instagram launch, and this was very much a royal first, if you like, because Sussex Royal was launched by Harry and, of course, his beautiful wife, Meghan. And what we were told was that every bit of information that we required from them would certainly be now through social media. And it certainly was, including, of course, the much-awaited birth of Prince Harry and Meghan's first child, baby Archie Harrison Windsor. Now, the big royal news for me of the year was, of course, the birth of baby Archie. It went on for months, the speculation, the name, where the birth would take place. Would he be born here in England? Would he be born in America? And then the sad news really was the fact that the royal couple decided to keep everything private. And this resulted in a mammoth backlash against Harry and Meghan, simply because, and it's their choice, remember, it was their first child and they wanted to do the things their way. But who could forget Prince Harry coming out and meeting the world's media to show how excited he was at the arrival of his very first child. Now, talking of children, the Queen had something of a difficult summer. She met President Trump. Now, President Trump is definitely his own man, but he was so excited at meeting the Queen that when he went to inspect the guard with Her Majesty, he got slightly confused and decided to walk first in front, then behind. And then Her Majesty put her best foot forward and showed him exactly how royal protocol works. You had to feel sorry for President Trump. He was incredibly nervous and very proud. But more importantly, that will be the memory that, of course, we all remember from the very first meeting of Queen Elizabeth and the current President of the United States. There's been so much to look forward to in this royal year. Of course, we then enjoyed the great news that Princess Beatrice decided to get engaged. And after a spectacular royal wedding with, of course, Princess Eugenie the previous year, we can't all wait for that in 2020. But one of my favourite gems in the royal year this year was, of course, the discovery of this brilliant book by Angela Kelly. Now, Angela Kelly is the Queen's dresser, and she wrote this book with the permission of Her Majesty the Queen, detailing all the secrets about how Her Majesty gets ready, the vibrant colours that we see her in on public engagements. There's so much, and if there's one gift that you should give somebody who truly loves the royal family, then this definitely is, of course, the book for you. Other things happened also that didn't really work incredibly well. The royal tour of Harry and Meghan to Africa. Now, that didn't play out incredibly well simply because the royal party themselves decided just on the very last day to release news about the fact that they were going to be suing the UK tabloid the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday, all about, of course, some stories that they are very unhappy about. It was a bit of a mistake simply because it turned a very successful tour, well, kind of bad. The press lost interest. Worse than that, there was a documentary to follow on independent television in which Meghan was interviewed by a close friend of Prince Harry and basically said she'd had a very tough time since joining the royal family. We then also learned that the questions had been agreed well in advance, so though making the documentary is slightly redundant and very reductive in terms of how popular the royals had been. Now, we do know, of course, that Harry, Meghan and baby Archie decided to spend the festive season over with her mother, we think, in Canada, where she sees friends and possibly also going on to the US of A later. But for now, the big story that really was, well, the most damaging, shall we say, in the royal calendar year, oh yes, that now infamous interview with Newsnight and, of course, His Royal Highness, the Duke of York. Now, the big royal story, the big interview of the year has to be, of course, the Duke of York's sit-down chat with the BBC, all about his friendship with the disgraced Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Andrew didn't really particularly acquit himself that well, but he did want to do it to put his side of the story over. According to insiders, lots of people wanted him not to partake in this particular interview, but he felt he had no other choice. It didn't go well for him. Sadly, since that interview, he's had to step back from royal duties for the time being. We also saw a bit of a backlash against his Pitch at the Palace incentive, in which, of course, budding entrepreneurs could get to meet the Duke and pitch their ideas, a little bit like Dragon's Den, at the world-famous Buckingham Palace. It's a shame, of course, because it was a great scheme, but sadly for Prince Andrew, it looks to be some time before we will see him return, if ever, to full-time royal duties. But there was one man this year that really dominated the royal year. He's a blonde bombshell. I'm not talking about myself, but of course the one and only, the brand new Prime Minister, Mr. Boris Johnson, who got to meet the Queen not once, but twice. Simply because he'd had a bit of a turbulent year himself. We saw the start of the year with Prime Minister May, and then after much battles and confusion, we had yet another general election. But what happened before that, of course, was that Boris was, well, the stand-in person. He went along to form a new government alongside, of course, the existing party. But where it gets rather interesting is, when Boris first went to meet Her Majesty the Queen, he made this fatal gaffe and allegedly spoke in public about what Her Majesty had said. Now, these private audiences with Her Majesty the Queen are titled that, private audiences. Well, Boris learned his lesson the second time around when he went back in the early part of December 2019 to reform yet another brand new government. He never said anything. And apparently, according to insiders, Her Majesty the Queen quite likes Boris and thinks he's a bit of a jovial chap. It could have been all so different, of course, if you'd have been sat opposite Jeremy Corbyn. I've met him, he's not funny. Now, how do we end the royal year? Well, we end it by saying there was a great moment at this year's Trooping of the Colour. That's because we saw for the very first time Prince Louis on the balcony. Now, Catherine thought this was a good introduction, not just to public life, but of course to the worldwide media that follows the royal family all around the world. Every day there's a story somewhere about our beloved British royal family. And to see Prince Louis on the balcony, well, it is a moment in history. Let me know what your favourite moment of this royal year has been by, well, simply getting in touch on the details below. We don't know what happens in 2020, but no doubt, hopefully, I'll be back this time next year reliving all my highlights from my favourite royal year. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this short film, don't forget to like and share. I'm Neil Sean, I'll see you next time.